Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land.
Identity. We are bombarded by images of who we think we are every day of our lives. But some people don't think. They know. How about you? I didn't know my true identity, culture, heritage, or roots. As a Christian, I was told the only thing that mattered was my identity was found in Christ. But what about the Asian, Arab, Coptic, or European believer? Do they know their identity? Does it matter to them? How about you? This is who they tell us we are. This is what we know. But is it the truth? Take a journey with me as I share my story of faith and identity and discover why both life in the Savior and identity matters. Why our past, present, and future hinges on the knowledge of our true identity. Why all believers in the Messiah must wake up before it's too late. As the world gets darker, it is time for Yah's people to shine their light. Who you really are is one of the most important questions on earth. It's time you knew.
Israelite. Israelite. Israel. Israelite. Israelite. How to know your identity without losing your Savior. Israelite!
I believe in you. Tell me, do you believe in
I want to switch topics, but because this is a very controversial talking point on the internet, right? I go on TikTok and I see a lot of UK people speaking about black Americans, right? What a lot of people, the UK, Africans, Caribbeans, a lot of their talking points is Black Americans or FBAs don't have culture. What do you say to those people who say that?
That's a projection. That's a projection because we are the culture here. Our lineage goes back to this country longer than the lineage to their country because their countries are relatively new, especially over there in West Africa. Not just West Africa, all of Africa. Many of those countries were basically created in the 1800s at the Berlin Conference. So they don't have a deep, rich culture. That's why a lot of them have to leave because of a lot of tribalism. They're not as deeply rooted as they're supposed to be. So they do a lot of projecting onto us. our culture is so deeply rooted here. Everything about American culture that is good comes from foundational Black Americans.
True.
The food, the dance, the slang, the sports, the entertainment.
Dress, yeah.
They try to say you can't use those examples nowadays.
Why can't we? Foundational Black Americans created the modern doorknob. We created the modern toilet. We created modern dry cleaning. So many things that we've created. We created the modern home security system. I mean, we've had 50,000 patents. We can claim all of this stuff. All of the music genres was created by foundational Black Americans. We are the culture. And they know this because if you go to their countries, they're acting like us. We're not acting like them. They got on baseball hats and Nike shoes and stuff that we're wearing.
That's a fact.
And
90-degree weather.
Right. They ain't wearing kente cloth sweatpants. They're wearing Nikes and Adidas like we're wearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
So even when you went to say about how the countries in West Africa, like I've seen an old map of Africa before they had the invisible lines with the borders with the countries, and like you said, those countries didn't exist until like the time frame you said. So when I hear this this conversation, and I think you've seen one of our clips. It was a Haitian woman, and she was like,
I definitely remember that.
She was sitting on the couch and she was just like, "Oh, I can't date a Black American because Black Americans don't have any cultures," and that one just went crazy online because it just. While she's dressed like an American Black woman, she's sitting there talking about Black Americans don't have, like, you know what I mean? So that is always a kind of divisive talking point in the diaspora.
And they can never tell us what their culture is. Because when people call up to our lives and start talking about culture, I ask, what is your culture? They can never give an answer. You understand? We can give answers to what our culture is, all of the music and the foods. We can give that. But they can't really give an answer to what their culture is.
So,
and that's no disrespect to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. We got love for you. But those who come over and try to denigrate us and project this weird thing, we will check them.
Why is it so easy for everyone to attack, the culture of Black Americans?
The thing is, this is the game they play. With us, we are so inclusive. We share our culture with everybody. We're too damn nice. That's been the problem, because whenever we do something, we say, okay, we chop it up to just global Africanness. We've been on that. So if we do something positive, we'll say, hey, our African brothers, we got it, probably from some tribe or whatever. We're share it with everybody. For a long time, we were sharing hip hop with the Caribbeans because they were like, well, Caribbeans help do it. And we're like, not really, but we'll share. We're all Black. We had that type of thing. And that was a mistake. Because what happens is a lot of these people who didn't create anything, we give them something, then they take it for granted and then say, hey, you know what? I did it and y'all didn't do shit and y'all ain't got no culture and we do. And we're saying, hey, we ain't playing that game no more.
Grace and peace, everyone. I hope that y'all are doing well today. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me. I know that this is not the time that I normally come on. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Y'all don't generally see me until usually in the evening, but today is a very important day. It's a very special day. And I know y'all like, why is it so special? I'm getting ready to tell you, but I want to thank you for joining me for this very important conversation. And, this is one that is something that has been happening in the culture for quite some time. This is a conversation that is not new, but it is one that is becoming more and more, mainstream. The discussion is being put out there, especially in light of what's happened over the last week with the Essence Fest. And we're going to get into that. But I want to tell y'all why this conversation was necessary for me to have today. For those of you who have been rolling with this platform for quite some time, especially during the pandemic, you'll know that I started a movement called the 714 movement. Back in 2020 was the start of the 714 movement. And for the entire month of July, I believe, we did like 30 days of prayer. This is before I started going on live. I, pre-recorded my prayers and went on for 30 days straight. And we had like so much success. If y'all remember back when the 714 movement was like really, really just like bringing in our folk like in a major way to come to corporate prayer a couple years back. If you remember that, do me a favor and put a 1 in the chat. But the 714 movement was started based off of 2 Chronicles 7:14. It's what I end all of my lives with whenever you see the 714 movement, that ending, is because of that corporate prayer. 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive your sins, and heal your land. 2 Chronicles 7:14, for me personally, hit different once I knew that he was talking to me and my people. Like when I was in Christianity, the 2 Chronicles 7:14, it kind of like, to me, it was just like overused. And it didn't really hit and resonate with me until I realized from that same word that if my people, who he was talking about, was quote unquote Black folk who have been dispersed to the four corners of the earth to be colonized and enslaved. And once I read that passage differently through the lens of the Most High Yahuwah, talking specifically to us, his people, healing us, healing our land, if we will humble ourselves and pray, that's when the corporate prayers began. And so today is the 5-year anniversary. It is 7/14/2025. It is the 5-year anniversary of the 714 movement. So praise Yah for that. Y'all could do me a favor and give some little, fire emojis, some celebratory, whatever you want in that, because it's not just a 714 movement prayer that has, been a blessing to our community, but all of the platforms that engage in prayer on a continual basis. I have definitely slowed down in corporate prayer on this channel, but I'm very much for intercession for our people. So I didn't want to forget this anniversary. I did not want to forget this anniversary. So that's why I'm here today. Why? Because tonight we're going to pray. So tonight at 7:14 p.m., I ask y'all to come back and join us as we pray. Now, every year I do things a little bit differently, and this year is going to be no different. What I'm going to do this year, as opposed to all the other years, is similar to what I'm doing this afternoon. I'm opening up the floor. I'm opening up the floor for our brothers and sisters to come on and to pray, as well as come on this afternoon and have this discussion. I asked y'all yesterday as I put out that content concerning the Essence Fest, if y'all were open to an open dialogue, open discussion, regardless if you're from the US, if you're from the Caribbean, if you're from the UK, Canada, you live in Asia, you're from there, Africa, wherever it is that you're from, if we can have this discussion, because I believe that it is very, very important. So there are two reasons why we're going to have this discussion today. I'm going to pull it up because it's always for me about scripture. It's always for me about what Yahuwah wants. I could not enter into a place of prayer this evening without addressing this reality among us. Matthew chapter 5, verse 22 says, but I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there remembrance that your brother has aught against you, leave there your gift before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. So that's why we're having this discussion this afternoon. How are we going to go into a place of prayer tonight when we know we got so much offense between us as a people? And there's a collective, there's just a slew of reasons why we have offenses towards one another. We can't hit them all. But this particular point is coming from me out of Ezekiel 37. It's coming out of the dry bones. Ephraim and Judah reconnecting again, learning how to stop being at war and conflict with one another. Now, the second reason why it is that I'm having this discussion is because of something that I posted in my community tab, which, listen, fam, I needed to post this. I needed to post this because I think, I'm going to make an observation. Matter of fact, I'll just read what I posted in my community tab if you didn't see it already. So I wrote this yesterday after sharing the Essence Fest video, and I believe that this is a serious problem among us, and it's another reason why I believe this conversation is very important. So this says, it was a conflict in the culture that Yahuwah used to wake many of us up. It was the silence of the church as the blood of black bodies spilled on the ground that caused many of us to say, something is wrong with this picture. I fear in this awakening, we have forgotten that. We have forgotten how Yahuwah met us at the core of where we were. The pain we felt from being oppressed and seeing our people, regardless of religious affiliation, oppressed. We've become educated, high-minded, above all of that rhetoric. We want to debate scripture, languages, religious rites and attire, roles in Hebrew cuisine. But that black talk is underneath us now. This is my observation. It was also my observation of the church. We have become the church in attitude, if not aesthetic. This is a problem because last I checked, we're still called to reach the Yahudim. We're still called to the hood, the barbershop, the cookout, the places and spaces where regular black folk meet. Yeah, even the church. I didn't add that, but even the church. What happened to us? We develop doctrine, but still forsake Yah's commands to love our neighbor as ourselves. Your neighbor doesn't know Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 68. Your neighbor doesn't know where they came from or where they're going. So who's going to tell them? Can you step down from your holy Hebrew ladder long enough to meet your fellow brother or sister where they're at? Is the culture too much for you now? Examine your heart, fam, because Yahusha chose the fishermen and tax collectors to turn the world upside down. He always rejected the scribes and Pharisees. Now, why did I say that? I said that because what I've observed is that when we deal with issues in the culture today, as opposed to maybe 5 years ago, there's a group of people who will come on our comment sections. In my comment section, they'll have a whole long list of scripture, and they'll talk about how this is above them. They'll talk about how this is not what we're supposed to be focusing on, or we're too holy to be talking about what goes on the culture with them heathens. And see, it bothers me because, see, I've always had the heart of an evangelist. I've always had the heart to get people from where they are to where it is that they need to be. And I guess I had that heart because I've been them people. I guess I had that heart because I grew up in the hood. I guess I have that heart because I never lost that sense of groundedness of who I am, regardless of whatever platform or position the Most High chooses to put me on. You see, I'm like the Apostle Paul. I've learned to be abased and abound. I know what it's like to live in the hood and the mansion. And at the end of the day, if you can't walk with those who are from Nazareth, then you are doing a disservice to this community. You see, because it was my Messiah who sat down with the prostitutes and the pimps. It was my Messiah who was criticized by the whitewashed tombs because he wasn't religious enough. So all I'm saying is that we have to get out of this space where we think that we're too holy. We're so heavenly minded that we're no earthly good, that we're not reaching into the heart of the community, the very one that the Most High pulled us out of. And so this is not about trying to rebuke anybody, but all this is saying is at the end of the day, that if you can't sit down and you can't listen to see somebody else's perspective, to hear where somebody else is coming from, then how is Ezekiel 37 ever going to be fulfilled? You see, some of y'all get offended when y'all come from the diaspora, and you're offended because of what Tariq Nasheed said about the culture of Black America. You shouldn't be offended by that because that's real talk. The reality is that the culture of Black America is what is being used all over the world to propagate style, substance, ingenuity, artistry, sports, all of it. All of it is being used on the backs of Black Americans, and Black Americans have struggled for hundreds of years and yet have not been able to receive the rewards, have not been able to receive the flowers. And so, yes, I am half Black American. I was born in the United States to a Black American father, and I'm half West Indian. So I love my Caribbean roots as well. But I can sit down and I can have a conversation on both sides and say, let's see where we can come together. Let's see where we can learn to forgive and show mercy towards one another, because quite frankly, all of us are experiencing oppression and domination by the same system. So now I'm gonna get off my soapbox real quick. I hope y'all understand where I'm coming from. And I'm gonna go ahead and open up the line for anybody who would like to come on and share their thoughts. I'd like to hear your testimony. What's been your experience in this culture, whether you're from Black America or the Caribbean, the UK, Africa, tell us what your experiences are, what your grievances are, what your disappointments with our community are. You feel free to do so, and I'm going to give some information along the way. So let me go ahead and put this in the comment section real quick, and I hope that this is blessing y'all. All right, let's see. Okay, so I went ahead and I put this link. I'm going to pin it in the chat real quick. And if anybody would come on, please stick with the topic. Do me a favor if you come on. The goal is not to be combative. The goal is not to be divisive. The goal is for us to learn how to listen, actively listen to one another, and to be able to take away the meat, spit out the bones, and learn to forgive and love one another. So now that I got that out of the way, I want to talk about this whole reason why I came to this conversation. You know, I hesitated to put yesterday's video out. I had recorded it on Shabbat, and I was like, I don't know if I should put it out, because sometimes when I think about my own background, it feels a little bit like, you know, maybe I'm not fully in touch with the Black American experience, not fully in touch with the Caribbean experience, because I share both identities. But I said, you know what? I'm going to be brave and start this conversation, because I think that it needs to be started among our community specifically. Why? Because unlike most of our brothers and sisters, we actually know that we are the people of the book. We know that we are the chosen of Yah, that we fit the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 68. And we want to get from curse to blessing. We know that the Most High is coming back to restore us. We know that he is coming back to gather us from the four corners of the earth. And many of us know that even though we were dropped off in these ports that have become places to develop microcultures in, that we actually ain't from all of these places, not for real. And when we look back at our history, we see that many of the things that we consider culture or microcultures actually have their roots and European traditions as well. One of those things in the Caribbean would definitely be carne-vo. Carne coming from the root word meat, and vel meaning to abstain. That came out of Catholicism, abstain from meat. And so now you have it all over the Caribbean, even in the United States. But it was a Catholic, Roman Catholic origin that was turned around during the time of slavery as a celebratory moment for many people in the Caribbean to celebrate their freedom. But there are things that are done in the Caribbean that are just not of us, but they are pagan in nature, but we've made them our culture. And that's a real discussion. But I wanted to address this situation with the Essence Festival because, you know, there's this thing that's standing in the way of us being able to dialogue and to understand that we're all one people. And so this Essence Fest was a perfect example of what has happened to us as to why it is that we can't talk. You have many people say, okay, well, the Essence Fest and why it went down the way it did is because it was taken over by a Kenyan woman and a Liberian man who now own Essence, and it's no longer representing the Black American culture. It represents more African culture, and that's why they pulled away. So they're pulling away their dollars. And that's fair. That's fair to say that, hey, if something no longer represents me, then I'm not going to put my dollars behind it. That's fair, and I'm not against that at all. But what I want to do is I want to share with y'all something that actually somebody who commented on my channel opened up the discussion about it. And they probably didn't even realize what they were doing, but they opened up the discussion about it. And I thought, you know what? It's pretty important that you said what you said. So I want to talk to y'all about who is behind the Essence Festival. That really a lot of people don't understand, you know, who behind something is. We just think it's Black culture, but we don't understand who's running behind that Black culture. So if you've heard of the Solomon Group, do me a favor and put a 1 in the chat. If you've heard of the Solomon Group. Yes, Juve as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, do me a favor and hit that like and share button. Absolutely. Shout out to Brother Timothy. All right. If you've heard of the Solomon Group, because I had not heard of the Solomon Group, shout out to the commenter, who put out the Solomon Group. I'm going to show y'all what the Solomon Group is, okay? Because we need to understand how we get mixed up in all of this all the time. So this is a Solomon Group. This is the co-founder and CEO of the Solomon Group His name is Gary Solomon Jr., okay? And if you'll notice here in the picture right here, Gary Solomon Jr., he is right here and he's with his husband and their child, okay? So I don't know for sure his nationality. He looks Jewish to me, but I don't know for sure. But I want you to take a look at some of the things that he says. He says, what topic could you give a presentation on without anything prepared? Where to eat and drink in New Orleans. Ask me for my dining and drinking guide to New Orleans if you're coming to visit. Link a nonprofit and tell us why it's your favorite to support. New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, Louisiana Conservatory. And then he goes on and says, this high school for pre-professional artists in New Orleans is nothing short of world class, from dance to creative writing to culinary arts and, of course, entertainment production and design. If you got the ambition, commitment, and talent, there is a place and a course of study for you here. And there's no cost to attend. This institution has set the national standard for arts education at the high school level for 50 years and continues to change and enrich lives every day. This says, describe your career in a few words. I modeled for Saks Fifth Avenue as a child, and they didn't ask me back for a 4-year-old season. I was crushed. Now, I'm going to stop right there because the modeling that he was into, as I read on another part of this website, was he modeled for the trans community, for I don't want to say the gender, but the same one that RuPaul does. You know what I'm saying? That's what he was doing. Okay. So his group, Solomon Group, is who is behind the operations of the Essence Festival. You see it right here. Essence Festivals, 2012 to present. Since 2012, Solomon Group has worked closely with Essence to produce its annual Essence Festival, which draws over 500,000 attendees to New Orleans each year. As one of the largest annual events in North America, Essence Festival requires nearly a year of planning. During the day, the Essence Empowerment Experience and Exhibitor Floor unfold at the Ernest M. Morial Convention Center, captivating audiences with brand activations, speakers, meet and greets, art markets, food vendors, and programs celebrating Black culture. Now, I want to show y'all the team behind the Solomon Group. I showed y'all the CEO. They're celebrating Black culture, right? Let me ask you, how many Black folk you see on here? This is a lot of folk. They're celebrating Black culture. They have been running Essence Festival for 14 years. I count 3. And some racially ambiguous people. 3. Okay? So, what we have to understand says, what does he have to do with Essence? He has none. That's the whole point. What we have to understand is there's always a financial engine behind this. There's always a financial engine behind this. And now the Essence Fest is not doing so well this year, then what happens? Oh, the first primary argument comes, let's have the diaspora wars, because they're not doing so well financially. I'm going to go ahead and bring my first guest on so he can share his perspective or her perspective, and then I'll continue on with that. Welcome to the platform, Pan Mulattoism.
Peace, sis. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming on. I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good. And I'll try to keep it brief. 2 things. Number one, I blame this whole fiasco on us as descendants of U.S. chattel slaves selling our businesses to other ethnicities. The Essence Fest wouldn't be a tether fest if we, as descendants of U.S. chattel slaves, would have kept that as a family business. Just like BET, that wouldn't be a tether fest if we would have kept that as a family business. Additionally, as far as the diaspora war, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of this, I see it as natural because we can never forget that the Africans and the Europeans were co-conspirators in the enslavement of our ancestors. We must acknowledge them both as such. So just as it would be irrational for the descendant of U.S. chattel slaves to seek unification with masses of Europeans, it's also irrational for descendants of U.S. chattel slaves to seek unification with masses of Africans. Really, these people are the culprits of the trauma that we experience even to this day.
I appreciate your perspective. Please don't leave just yet, because I got a question for you. Do you read the Bible?
Well, I'll say this: I was raised in the church, definitely. But if
So
I
you
was
know,
at,
a
go
little
ahead.
something about the word, right? You know a little something. You read the Bible.
Yes, man. A little bit.
Okay, so I think that you hit on some excellent points first and foremost, and thank you so much for coming up here and sharing. When it comes to the African Soul Africans narrative, I definitely understand and can relate to that, because a lot of times what happens is that what we'll do is we'll say, well, white folk are the ones who are solely responsible for what has happened to us as a people. But then when somebody looks like us, we'll just be like, okay, I'm not even going to hold them to the carpet, because they didn't have, we'll make excuses essentially for them because they're melanated, whereas we won't for those who are lacking in melanin. But the reason why I asked you if you read the Bible, because do you remember the story about Joseph and how he was sold into Egyptian captivity? Do you remember that story?
Vaguely, but please refresh my memory.
Okay, so before the children of Israel went into mass slavery into Egypt, there was one brother who was of the children of Israel. His name was Joseph. And he was like a very intelligent and handsome brother. He was a son of Jacob's wife, Rachel, who he loved the most. And his brothers essentially were jealous of him. They were very jealous of him. And so what they did is that they took him, they threw him in a pit, and then they were trying to decide whether or not they were going to unalive him or if they were going to put him into slavery. And some Ishmaelite slave traders or slave catchers, they were there, and so they sold their brother into Egyptian captivity. That right there, they were of the bloodline. They knew each other very well. There was no ambiguity about who was who. But out of the pure jealousy of their heart, they sold their own flesh and blood brother into Egyptian captivity, in which he served for, I believe, 13 years, 10 years as a slave, and then 3 years, I believe, he was imprisoned, falsely accused. And then he became the second most powerful man in all Egypt, because he interpreted the Pharaoh's dreams. Later on, about 14 years later, his brothers and his family were in famine. And that is when his brothers, 14 years later, came to Egypt, and they were looking for help from Egypt. And he was the one that they had to go to. And his assessment of the situation between his brothers, his family, was, what you meant for evil, the Most High Yah has used for good. You thought putting me in slavery was going to be something that was going to break and crush and kill me. But ultimately, Yah used it for good for the deliverance of our nation. Now, the reason why I say that is because one of the things that we have to be aware of, and this is not to try to take away from any of the responsibilities of those among the continental Africans who still disregard us. But one of the things that we have to remember is that we oppose each other still to this day. We do things to hurt and harm each other. We go to dealing with FBI, COINTELPRO type tactics among our own people that are harming our people to this day. And when I look at these diaspora wars, to be honest with you, I believe that many of these same bad actors are playing on our emotions, that they're playing on our offenses and our rejection of one another because of what has happened in the past, versus us being able to sit down and communicate with one another and forgive each other. Now, I do know that not all Africans are us. I know that for sure. But I'm just saying, I think that we have to have room at the table to sit down and listen and learn how to forgive. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, and I'll ask a very brief question because, well, number one, to respond to the story of Joseph, actually, what we went through is even worse because Joseph went through slavery for a set amount of time. With us, it was indefinite. It was multiple generations of enslavement that we
Facts.
experienced. Additionally, I must say, when you say that some Africans are our people, I have
Mm-hmm.
to ask you, because as you know, during the ethnogenesis that we experienced as descendants of U.S. chattel slaves, we have European ancestry, we have Native American ancestry. So genetically, it could be argued. So I'll ask you, do you also see Caucasians as our people?
Oh man, that's such a good question. And that's the thing where you get muddied waters when it comes to this idea about who is who's our people. I trace my lineage back to Nigeria, particularly of Igbo stock. So I do know that I come from the continent. I, encourage everybody to take a DNA test, whichever test that you want to take and find out your DNA. I think it's very important to trace your blood. Now, in all transparency, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. My brothers both had children by white women, and I recently saw my nephew, right, who I had not seen like period since he was a baby. And this boy looked like a male version of Mariah Carey. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't look at Mariah Carey, and because she's a major singer, we'll say, oh, yeah, she one of us, she black. When really she's not. She's mixed. She's of mixed lineage. And that's the thing about us as the children of Israel. Many of us are of mixed lineage. I think that what we have to do is that we have to learn how to begin looking at each other, not as much in the physical form as looking at us from the biblical descriptors. Are we an oppressed people? Do white people experience the same oppression that we do? Come on now, they don't. A lot of times
But hear me
they're
out though.
images of it.
And I apologize for cutting you off, but
No,
I
no,
asked that
go ahead.
question. I asked that question for a particular reason. The masses of us would not say that Caucasians are our people, even though we have Caucasian ancestry. That's the same exact stance I take towards the Africans. Just because we have African ancestry does not make Africans our people. We are a separate new stock. We are a new ethnicity. Or in
I can,
other words, just because Europeans, and once again, I'm gonna put anytime I say Europeans, you can literally substitute the word African because I have the same stance on both. Neither one of them act like family, so they should never be treated by family by us. Really, they are co-conspirators in the enslavement and subjugation of our lineage. So when it comes to just to get back to the topic of discussion about the COINTELPRO, the FBI, the division, with all due respect, when we speak about COINTELPRO, that was a tactic that the U.S. government used to cause division amongst our own ethnicity, descendants of U.S. chattel slaves. We
that's
cannot
right.
use that term and compare it to what you see between us and other ethnicities. Us and these African ethnicities, we were never unified. So the FBI didn't have to divide us. We were never unified. Matter of fact, we were divided ever since they sold us to the Caucasians. Matter of fact, the African and the European are more united than the descendant of U.S. chattel slaves and the Africans. Really, they made money with each other. One hand washed the other. So I mean, really,
Yeah.
that's my stance on them.
No, I feel you. And again, I appreciate your perspective. And it's for me, again, it's not a right or wrong answer. For me, it's a come to the table and see how we can hear each other out. I respect that. I want to ask you a question before you go. One last question. What about those on the continent who don't feel that way? What about those on the continent who are pro Black America, pro diaspora? They actually welcome us in. They have open arms. They give land. All of those things. Do you consider them also as defectors, as those who wash hands with Europeans, or do you consider them that they could possibly be a part of the community too? Maybe they just stayed on the continent. They're not, what I'm saying? They're not Black American lineage, but they do care about us. What are your thoughts about them?
I put them in the same exact category that Saludo Theo, buen dia, Saludo. I put them in the same exact category as the whites that voted for the 14th Amendment and the whites that even in the modern times may have voted in favor of reparations, for instance, in Evanston, Illinois, or the whites out in California that supported the California Reparations Task Force. I put them in the same category, literally. That does not mean that the totality of their race, saludo, it does not mean that the totality of their race is our ally. It just means that you had a few allies amongst them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Pan. Is it mulattoism? Is that how you
Yes,
pronounce it?
pan mulattoism, yes.
I really appreciate you coming on and your perspective. I think you brought some excellent points to the discussion, and I'm definitely going to ask any of you who are actually from the continent, your bones are directly from the continent, you don't have any Black American or Caribbean diasporan roots. If you like to maybe disagree, or maybe you want to say, I agree with them, if you like to come on, definitely hit that link so that you can come on. I'm going to go ahead and give Yahoo Melanated by Yahuwah an opportunity. Pam, Mulata Wisdom, you can stay on if you want to, or you can exit. It's up to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll stay.
Hi, can you hear
Shalom,
me?
sis. How you doing? How you
Hello. I'm
doing?
on a bus. I'm on a bus. I'm training. But I really wanted to come on to say that we must not forget why we were sold into captivity. It was due to the disobedience of our ancestors that we were sent here. This was biblical. This was prophecy. This was not just them taking crafty counsel against us. We disobeyed the Most High Yah. So that is the reason that we are in the condition that we are in. And as the children of those descendants, we need to understand that. We also rejected our Messiah when he came to, when he said, I only come for the lost sheep of the house of Yahshua. So there is a reason that we experience slavery. And in order for us to, Yahuwah said that the two sticks are going to become one. So we can't hold no grudge against the things that happen. And we also have to understand that just because we are skin folk don't mean that we are kinfolk. We are not a race. A race is a social construct, a man-made construct. We are a nation. And Yahuwah created nations, tribes, not create white or black or Asian or whatever it is. So we are a nation of people that Yahuwah chose, and because of our disobedience, we were sent to our enemies to be trodden down until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we must never forget that.
You know what? I think that is such a major point, and I think that's the crux of the argument for me. And I said at the beginning, Second Chronicles 7:14, that it hit different once I knew it was talking about our people, right? Because we're the ones who essentially put ourselves in this captivity. Unlike Joseph, who was innocent and righteous, we were not innocent and righteous. We did this to ourselves. It was our ancestors who said, as the blood of our Messiah was getting ready to be spilled, let his blood be on our heads and the heads of our descendants. We have no king but Caesar. So the thing is that we have to take some measure of responsibility for what happened to us as a people. And I think in taking responsibility, that's when we come back to the carpet and we say, you know what, we messed up, y'all. Please forgive us. But also he says that if you can't forgive your brother, how are you going to come up to me and ask for forgiveness as well? Now, I definitely understand Pan Mulattoism's point that we are, because of the dispersal and hundreds of years removed from the continent, it feels like you're a totally different people. But for me, and this is something before the awakening, I was never patriotic. I never saw America as a friendly place. I always saw it as a hostile territory to our people. And when I woke up, I really saw it as the hostile territory that it is. So when I think about America, I feel like sometimes because we have gotten so comfortable with being in the land of our oppressors that we want to flip it and we want to make it work for us. But the nation within itself has never supported our growth. We're sitting here fighting for reparations from a nation that has given every other group reparations with things that they didn't even have any part of. But yet we're sitting here saying, can you cut the check? Can you cut the check? We're begging people who have oppressed us to cut the check. And the other issue for me is that when I look at the continental brothers and sisters, right? I just say brothers and sisters for the sake of agreements, who have the ancestors who sold our ancestors into slavery. Even though they sold our ancestors into slavery, and I mentioned this in my video yesterday, they were not the ones that were responsible for shifting our language, our culture, our faith, our identity, putting the white image in front of us as superior. They did not do that. These colonizers did that. So we have to ask ourselves, are we giving them as much smoke as the colonizers when they didn't do as much damage? That's my question. I'm gonna let two other people come on real quick. I want to welcome in Sarah Yam, Adzanku, and also Endor, and then Ayuba, Ezekiel. I'm going to give everybody opportunity to come and say their piece. Definitely hit that like button. And then we can have a little bit greater dialogue once everybody gets a chance to say their piece at first.
Can I say one more thing too? And the Bible says that we reap what we sow. And when you think about the story of Joseph and our ancestors, some of them wanted to unalive him, but it was Judah. It was Jehuda that said, "Let's sell him." So we saw our forefathers said, "Let's sell him." So he sold his brother into captivity. Therefore, we are in captivity. So
Excellent point. Excellent point. Seram Adzanku. Can you I'm not sure if you're male or female, but please welcome to the platform. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, sis. Yeah, I am definitely female. This
Welcome,
is
welcome.
yeah for everyone. Also, this is Sister Saram. I do teach on African Hebraic origins, specifically the Ewe people, also known as the Ewe people,
Ina
in
gaisuwa.
West Africa.
Ya kanan
Um,
ya kanan shugaban ƙasan.
I okay.
Please do me a
Somebody had the
favor
hot
and mute
mic.
your microphone. If you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Okay. Thank you so much, sis, for coming on. So your specialty is dealing with Hebraic African studies?
Correct. The
Beautiful.
histories, the Hebraic histories of the Ewe people, their customs and the linguistics. We have found that Ewe language is actually ancient Hebrew, and I spent a lot of time researching and sharing on my YouTube channel as well as other social media platforms. And I have your book, by the way. Excellent book. Thank you so.
Oh, thank you. Shout out to you for having my book. Awesome. And shout out to all of you who all are supporting Israelite, How to Know Your Identity Without Losing Your Savior. Go ahead, sis. Shameless
Yeah.
plug.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would definitely have to disagree with pan uh, mulattoism. Uh, I think that definitely uh, our reconciliation is completely necessary. We our survival depends on it. There's just no other way. We have to realize that the same games have been played on us. Yes, we did sin against one another. Excuse me, Sister Lashanda mentioned, Ashanda mentioned the story of Joseph being sold by his brothers. We have to realize that we have not only had one captivity and one instance where our people were taken into slavery or into exile. Okay, so we've been having diaspora for hundreds of years now, and I would even say even 1,000 years. We have diaspora from the Assyrian, Babylonian eras, all those eras. We have diaspora. We have people who were taken away, and those who remained, and then those who returned as well. It's not a new thing. And even the most recent ones being the transatlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade. Let me tell you, for the Eves, for example, it's well known that we're not indigenous to West Africa. When we came into West Africa, our last known place of residence was the Ghana Empire. So that's where you have like the countries of Mali, Burkina Faso, a part of Chad, and so on. So in that, what do you call it? The Sahel region. Okay, so that's the area where we stayed, and we had to leave and go further down south because of Islamization. Okay, the Almoravid Moorish Berbers were making great efforts to Islamize, and so our people followed the Niger River, and came down into what is now present day Nigeria. And because of other things that happened in Nigeria, our people moved on into Benin and Togo and in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire.
Oh, well,
Now,
I'm sorry. So just so I'm clear, and I apologize for cutting it. It'll be so brief. So just so I'm clear, you're saying that your family, your ancestors, pardon me, your ancestors were not enslaved in the U.S., correct?
my ancestors, I have family members, we do have parts of our families who were captured and taken and enslaved in the Americas, we
No,
have
no, no. I'm
slave.
asking. I'm
Hold
asking
on,
about
hold
your
on,
direct lineage. Are
hold
you
on,
descendant? Are
hold
you
on.
descendant of slaves in the U.S.?
So we haven't been able to. No. I am not descendant of directly descendant of slaves in the U.S. I am
Okay.
African. That's what I said
Okay.
in the beginning.
Yes.
So we have people from our tribe who were enslaved and brought into the Americas and dispersed, north and southern and otherwise. Now, we also have people who were dispersed on the continent. They were enslaved, taken from one place and taken to another place, still on the continent, and actually enslaved there. And some of them remained and others returned.
But
Now, we have
but
to
but the point
understand
I
the
was trying to make is,
complexities.
if
Hold
someone
on.
Okay,
if
okay,
someone
hold on.
sold your family, would you forgive them?
So we have to understand the complexities of the slave trade. Okay. Yes, there are so many different facets. There's we can say the European facet where they instigated wars, they interfered, and all this stuff. And definitely there were those kingdoms who also realized that, wait a minute, this trade is actually fetching, what do you call it, wealth. And so they got involved into the slave trade, like mentioned here. I think, did I hear Dahomey, or maybe not, but Dahomey, Ashanti, Oyo, and so on and so forth. But what were they doing before? There was not a slave trade before. So we have to realize that it wasn't something that they just stood up and did. Now, there was the Arab slave trade. Again, that's also initiated by foreigners who come in and interfere and impose their beliefs, their language, their customs.
But since the Africans didn't have to be complicit, that's the only point y'all chose to be. So I'm just
Let me
asking, if someone
let
sold
me
your family,
let me
would you forgive them?
finish.
Well, can I
Okay,
ask the host a
real,
question? If someone
real,
sold her family, would she forgive them? That's all I want to know, and I'll mute up.
yeah, no, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I think what we're gonna do, because Saram, you have a lot of wealth of information, and pan mulattoism, I definitely understand your perspective, but I want to give everybody a chance real quick to say their 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're definitely going to circle back because I want to hear more of what you have to say.
Do
Because
you mind if I just land real quickly?
yeah, go ahead and land real quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
it was a point that you
Um,
made that I want to come back to as well. Go ahead.
okay. All right. Yeah. So I actually have in the recent past a maternal ancestor who was captured in Upper Volta, which is in present day Burkina Faso, and she was sold down in the south. Now, when I mean she sold, she was sold into the an Ebe family, which is in West Africa, and she became part of the family because slavery in our concept is different from chattel slavery. She actually married into the family, and not just any family, but she was married into a royal family. You understand? So you don't own the life of the person that you have purchased. Slavery has always been there, but we understood that it did not mean that the person was less than human and that they didn't own any rights. But I will end there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, this dialogue is so important, right? And I understand that it's very, triggering and emotional. But that's why I want us to be able to come to the table and learn to listen to one another and not just be like so held on to our stance that we're unwilling to hear another person's perspective. Because I think there's something that Sarah said, and I wanted to circle back to before I move on to the next person. I want to say this is that originally, when it came to the African tribes, like the Dahomey and Ashanti she mentioned, that was not something that was birthed through them. They were selling I think they were trading in gold and different precious metals before the Europeans said, hey, from Spain, this, maybe we should start trading in bodies instead. And you're right, pan mulattoism, they didn't have to be complicit. There's nobody is going to sit here and say that it was okay that they made that decision at all. If you're sitting there saying that, you don't belong on this panel. But understanding that a lot of the inspiration behind chattel slavery is not what we've been told, because anytime we discuss this, you'll have white folks say, well, Africans sold Africans into slavery. So let's keep in mind of the roots of where even the idea of selling black bodies specifically into chattel slavery came from. Ayuba Ezekiel, welcome. Please go ahead and stay your point. Do me a favor and try to stick within a minute, because we got a couple other people that need to stay their point as well. You got to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi,
Uh,
shalom, welcome.
yeah, I am Ayuba. I'm speaking from Nigeria. So I was kind of following. Please don't mind the accent. I'm of northern Nigeria. So uh,
No, we don't
and-
mind the accent. We don't mind the accent. You're good.
okay, yeah. So I used to watch all these YouTube videos maybe in the evening. So I came across this accent that was trending all through. So based on my own perspective about it, of which some of the enslaved Americans, that is the black Americans, were raising some issues that their culture is being infringed upon, and it almost looks like maybe they are being hijacked, right? So if I may, like, if I understand, this is what I've been seeing, right? So
Yes, the cultural wars. Yeah, the culture of Black America being hijacked from both Caribbean and continental Africans.
okay, yeah. So and as I was listening through, there is a brother there that I think his name is Pan. I can't pronounce the name completely. So
Pamela.
yeah. So he's more concerned about slave trade, and maybe he won't forgive the ancestors of the people who enslaved his own ancestors. So well, me myself, if another nation enslaves my own ancestor, I don't think I will be able to forgive that nation. But if we are going to go through the facts, based on the context of which you've been talking about, like biblical, if we are to go into the biblical side of it, uh, Ephraim enslaved Ephraim. Ephraim is the same person who enslaved and sold Ephraim. God sold God. Levi sold his two brothers, Gershom and Merari. That is, Kohat sold Gershom. And what happens to Kohat? Kohat is still in slavery up to today by his granddad Ismail. So, if we are going to look at this on a wider scale, I know in most cases you won't always hear all these things from maybe the Hausa perspective or those minorities tribes surrounding the Hausas, of which the Hausa people sold them into slavery. You are not going to have like you are not going to hear any of this perspective. So cutting the story short, uh what I'm able to, like, my own take on the essence stuff is that I I see it more like a window, right, for the African Americans to get into Africa. Maybe if they can use that as a window, get into Africa and purchase lands and like they can use that as sort of a window, because right now the state I am currently, which is Niger State in Nigeria, right? What white people does is that uh, they are going to come and buy a land like 100 hectares, 200 hectares. Now, even you, the native, if you are coming, you are not going to even get the land to farm yourself. So most of our people do go to America due to the fact that it's because of the currency, and the purchasing power. So maybe if they make a little stuff they can come back and maybe build and maybe compete with their other peers. That's basically what happens. So whatever they do in America, they gather it, come back here, and then if they come back here, they meet another competition from Indians, Lebanese, Pakistanis, and then even some. There was even a Jewish woman that almost bought half a village. Can you see? So now, if you are going to be staying in the Americas, we are trying to safeguard the culture, whatever, the future is that everything is going to move to Africa, and you are going to lose there, and you are going to lose here in Africa. 2-0. Slavery 2.0 is coming back based on how I've predicted it. So I've been a programmer all my life. I worked with blockchain companies. I've programmed all these fintech
Brother,
software.
please land your
I've
plane.
already
Stop
finished.
people trying to get in, please.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to get in is that instead of you focusing on all these, go go to Africa, use the power that you guys are more powerful than the Africans here because you have access to dollars. Get that, come here, buy properties, buy land, and since you are already familiar with the behavior of the white people, you can take over them here and chase them out. But if you are going to be complaining there, those white people are going to keep buying lands here, owing people here, and advance slavery back again. I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much for your insights. And that's a whole different, man, that's a whole different, discussion. You mentioned Agenda 2030. You know, that's where I think that we have issues is what are we looking at as the future of our nation as a collective with what we see currently going on. And we can have that discussion as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on to Melanie so she can say her piece in this discussion. And do me a favor, when you're coming on, and I didn't do this for the others, but tell us whether or not you are of diasporan or you're continental. And if you are diasporan, which place that your bones reside.
Shalom, family. Thanks for having me on, Ashanda. As you can see on the screen, I'm Jamaican, born and raised in Jamaica by Jamaican parents, Black Jamaican parents, I should say, because we're very multicultural here. But I was having this discussion this morning with my husband about Black American culture. I have seen a lot of discussion on the internet about people from the Caribbean not liking Black Americans and not liking Black American culture. And I was saying to my husband this morning that I think most of the hatred around these conversations is only on the internet. And I said that because I have never heard any conversation about us as Jamaicans not liking Black Americans. I have never been in any conversation where we're talking about America, Black Americans, and you're taught to hate. I have 3 brothers who live in the US who are married to Black Americans. I have been to America. I've seen so many conversations, even with the deportations, where Black Americans are saying, you didn't want to unite with us, and now you're calling for us to help you, and we're not going to help you because when you come here, you only stay within your communities. And I understand that, but I have a different perspective. When I visited the US, of course, I was around the people who my brothers were around because they were who I visited. If I go into a group of people and I have other people from the Caribbean, other people from Jamaica, and I have Black American people, it is very easy for me to gravitate towards my Caribbean brothers and sisters more because our culture is closely aligned, our dialect is closely aligned. And so I think that could be misunderstood as not wanting to unite with Black Americans. Also, I think not only does social media play a huge role, but the media, TV, news, most of the television that comes out of America that's portraying Black Americans is mostly negative. And so when we think of all of that, sometimes it's not so much that, oh, the Caribbean hates Black Americans, but Black Americans are also not portrayed in a positive way in the media. And if immigrants come in, it's most likely that they're going to stick to their own, not because of hatred to another group, but because it's easier on them to transition. That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much for that insight. And as a fellow Caribbean sister, Caribbean myself, I could definitely understand your point of view, because that what your position is what I've experienced with many people in the Caribbean who come to America. So it's not so much, oh, well, I don't want to be around Black Americans. It's just, okay, I kind of resonate with you a little bit more. But if you know Caribbean people, you know that they're constantly fighting against each other. So Jamaicans are constantly fighting
Yep.
against Trinis and BVI and USVI, and
Yep.
you know, it's who make the best this and who make the best
Yep.
that, who do the best dance, who do
Yep.
all of that when they're in their own, when they're on their own territories. But when it comes to the States, all of a sudden it's like, let's put all that aside, Caribbean massive, right? And so that is definitely an experience. Now, where I don't share the same experience with you is that I actually have been a part of conversations where Caribbean people have spoken down on Black Americans. And it has rubbed me the wrong way because, like I said, I'm half Black American and I grew up in the States. And when I know what I know about my brothers and sisters in the States and the perseverance and the endurance and all of the things that historically they've had to go through and still be considered minority, it bothers me. It's like, why can't we understand that the access that you have in the United States is you have that access because it was built on the back of Black Americans. So I do understand where you're coming from when you say that, you know, a lot of it's online. But I think a lot of it's online because it's just stemmed up from what was already on the inside. And so people feel more comfortable to get behind the screen and talk about the private conversations that they're having in their homes. But there's definitely animosity from all of us for different reasons. And usually from what I can see is driven by microculturalism. That's what it's driven by. This is my microculture. This is what I know. And so I think that this is the best. That's my opinion. Don P, I want to go ahead and get your point. Oh, did Don P just leave? Okay. No, it wasn't Don P. It was Endora. Endora was next. Endora, where are you coming from? What's your point of view?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can.
Okay, I'm in the U.S. I'm in the States. So first of all, I want to thank you, Ashante, for this platform, this opportunity to be here. Since I have, I guess you can say, since I have come into this knowledge of the truth, one of your platform, along with others, has been one that has been very helpful. And
Oh,
so
praise you.
I have a couple of points here. Thank you, first of all, for the background on the Solomon Group, because, like I said, I'm here in the States. And so I've heard of this event that goes on in New Orleans. And it's good to have the information. So when I'm making decisions about things that I'm doing, I have the backstory on it. So thank you for that. The other thing is I heard one of the people speak on I guess you can say Judah or those that are here in the States being disobedient. And from my studies, if I can recall correctly, and you all can correct me on this, yes, we were disobedient. That is correct. And we did, I guess, have our role in being disobedient when our Savior came. But from my understanding in studies, I'm seeing that the chattel slavery or the slavery that we experience here in America, we were completely we were treated totally different than maybe some of the others. Like our families, we weren't allowed to have families, we weren't allowed to have income. There's so many things that were done different. And so I understand that servitude is a part of what may have happened, but I just don't know whether or not this was y'all's plan for his people to be treated the way that we were treated. And so that's one of the things I had questions about, if someone wants to help on that. And then if I understand the other thing, when it comes to the different sons of Noah, Hamites, if I understand, are not a part of Israel. I thought it was Shemites. So I'm just Not that they are not, I'm not saying that other people can't make it in, but if I understand, aren't we of a different stock, possibly? And so
Beautiful.
there's a difference there.
Beautiful question. So we're actually a mixed multitude. We're
Mm-hmm.
more Shemitic than we are Hamitic, but
Mm-hmm.
we have to keep in mind about people like Joseph, for example. Joseph married an
Uh-huh.
Egyptian woman who was of Hamitic lineage. Moses married an Ethiopian woman who was
Right.
of Cushite lineage, which was Hamitic.
Mm-hmm.
Judah, didn't he marry a Hamite woman? I
He
believe
did,
he married. Right. Mm-hmm. Go
but I
ahead.
guess my thing is, I thought it was based on, is it not based on dad?
Yes, it is definitely based on dad. Most of the Hamitic women of the Hamitic people are actually matrilineal. You're absolutely correct in that regard. So the Hamitic men are the ones who are going to hold to the Hamite lineage, and the Shemitic men are going to hold to the Shemitic lineage. However, even when we deduce that down, we have
Mm-hmm.
to understand that Shem is Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, right? Ishmael is
Right.
also Shemitic.
Right. Right.
Esau is also Shemitic. So we don't want to conflate Shemitic and not understand that the focus that the Most High had was he is the Elohim or the Eluah of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So it's about the children of Israel. But at the end of the day, the children of Israel also integrated themselves with the
Mm-hmm.
Hamitic nations. And even like when you look in the New Testament, you'll see like Timothy, his mother was a Jewess and his father
Mm-hmm.
was a Greek. Now
Mm-hmm.
people will argue and say, oh, he was a Greek. He wasn't really a Greek. He was, he was an Israelite, but he just spoke Greek. Paul was an Israelite and he was not, he spoke Greek, but he was not considered a Grecian. He was still considered Israelite. So
Okay.
there's that argument when it comes to that. For me, it goes back to the curses. For me, it
Okay.
goes back to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 68. And what I see is that our people, by and large, even more than the Hamitic tribes,
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that have been oppressed and subjugated all over the world. To answer your second question, yes, they did take it too far. And the Most High said they took it too far, and that's why they're going to be judged because of what they did and taking it too far.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's my position on that. But, I'm forever a student, right? I'm
Right.
forever learning. And I'm telling you, like, y'all, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Do y'all know that I found out last night that there's still slavery happening in America? I'm talking about on plantations
No.
today.
Okay,
I
you're gonna
watched
have to share that one with us because
What?
I didn't know
I
that.
watched a documentary with Dick Gregory in it. The documentary was posted in 2020 and it was talking about it. My husband and I, we couldn't even believe it. It was so unreal. We're sitting there like, you gotta be kidding me. This woman was talking about how she was a whole slave up until 1960 before she escaped
Mm,
from that plantation. So
mm,
there's a lot of things that we still are, trying to figure out when it comes to our people. Slavery technically is still on the books through the 13th Amendment. And of course, that's the prison system. But real slavery on plantations, while we celebrating Juneteenth, is literally still going on in
oh
different parts of
gosh.
America, specifically Mississippi.
Can
So,
I get two more points in and get
yes,
out the
that's
way?
Dowdy. That was Mississippi. Go ahead and get your point in real quick.
Okay, I'll make it quick. When it
Yeah,
comes to forgiveness, those of us that are believers, of course, we know we don't have an option on it. We have an option, but if we say we're a believer, we are supposed to give regardless of it. And then I think the last thing that I think that frustrates me is that even for those of us that are here in the U.S. as believers, if we cannot get to a point where we can forgive and start to deal with these things, I'm not even sure how we can address our fellow believers or brothers and sisters or those that are on other continents. I just don't know how we're going to get to that if we can't do it here.
absolutely. I 100% agree. Thank you so much, Endora. Excellent points. And I want to give Don P a chance to come in. Don P, welcome to the platform. Good to see you, my brother. Try to keep it on a minute because I got some questions I want to ask. And then we're going to be preparing for prayer tonight at 7 p.m. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. First of all, I want to say to Saram, what's up, cuz? I find it really interesting how this system really has nestled itself into our minds. We talk about folks living rent free in other folks' head, but it's really nestled itself into our mind because we have to remember that these titles and these labels were placed upon us. These were not given to us by the Most High. And that's what we really have to focus on. Just because someone's melanated doesn't mean that they're of our nation. And therefore, we know that those nations would plot against us. But we have to, as we look at this, we have to really try to look at this on an individual basis. My age, I understand, what's being told, who is hand selected to come to the United States, and then the propaganda that is played on both sides for them to operate in a fashion that they've always operated in. They never change. And that is the divide and conquer. They never change. If they can keep us arguing amongst ourselves, we don't see them picking our pockets or taking control or doing whatever it is that they do. And it's usually against us. And so we really have to come to the place of maturity. Oh, and the thing about forgiving, I think we need to look a little deeper in history to know who is actually accountable, because we know that men lie, women lie, but the Most High doesn't. And we know especially white men and white women lie. But I'm reading this book. I just got this book and I started reading it. It is about, which is really interesting because it has to do with today. It is The Fools of Central Africa and the African Slave Trade. And this book was written in 1843. And I'm only a few pages deep into it, but the Fulas are not Negroes. And if anyone knows what that means, they know what it means. And we're seeing, this is what I'm talking about, the nations. We're seeing these same people causing the same problems in the same places. But during the time of the writing of this book, they were more expansive and they had a larger number of people. And I believe that, this is all about division. And wherever he is in control, he creates that division. And the whole thing with white superiority has really gotten into our brains like that's something superior when it's inferior. It's a mutation of us. So we need to examine ourselves. Really, it really starts, and it's like, why? I believe it's a false narrative. I really believe it's a false narrative, and I think that we really got to grow up and stop allowing others who may be getting paid to divide us. And I'll end there.
I think you made some excellent points, Don P. See, my concern is that I think it was Brother Ayuba mentioned about Agenda 2030. As a person, what I try to do is I try to dig through the weeds to get to the root of an issue. And when I think about these diaspora wars, and I think about the issue of Black Americans, particularly FBA, who want respect and deserve respect, but my frustration is that I feel like we're not seeing the writing on the wall. Like Trump, for example, we know that he's in office right now. He just got finished saying that he was thinking about ending Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. Now, we know she's definitely not one of us, but she is an American citizen. It has been in America. Her bones have been in America for so long, but because he has a personal problem with her, said, I'm thinking about ending her citizenship. And we see everything that's happening with the migrants. And there are people that I know personally that are impacted, Caribbean migrants that have to leave the U.S. territories because of this immigration situation, because of ICE. Do we not see the handwriting on the wall that it's a good possibility that Black Americans who consider themselves foundational Black Americans will be on that list to be booted out? And I want to hear your perspective, Pan Mulattoism, on that particular topic.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you called on me. Actually, Mr. Shonda, even you say you have Caribbean ancestry, but if you went to any Caribbean nation illegally, you would be deported. So I definitely support all of the illegal aliens being mass deported. In fact, I even report illegal aliens to ICE literally every day. I got multiple illegal aliens deported myself. And to draw back to one of the points that two things. Number one, at least the African man admitted that if a nation enslaved his family, he would not forgive them. That's all we are saying as descendants of U.S. chattel slaves. You were complicit in the enslavement of my ancestors. I don't forgive you, white man. I don't forgive you, African. And that's a logical stance to take. And in closing, to the Caribbean sister on the panel, she spoke about when Caribbeans come into the U.S., they feel a cultural affinity towards other Caribbeans. So that's why they seclude themselves amongst themselves. My point is, you all can do that in the Caribbean. That's why I call ICE on Caribbeans. And I'll say that in closing.
Pam Mulattoism, thank you so much for your perspective. Listen, y'all, I know this might be difficult for some of y'all to hear some of the things that he's saying, right? Because y'all like, I can't believe he's talking like this. Listen, this is a reality that many who are FBA feel when it comes to those who are from other parts of the diaspora. And I think it's rooted in the disrespect and the disregard when those who are from the diaspora come to America because they've listened to the European colonizers tell them, leave Black Americans alone. They're nothing but thugs and they're nothing but baby mamas and they're criminals and all of those things. So we need to understand that there is a real frustration when it comes to FBAs concerning those who come from diaspora and the continent. Now, with that said, do I agree with them? Absolutely not. I don't, because I agree with somebody who said the point that nobody's an immigrant on stolen land, right? I don't believe that the European colonizers should have a right to put anybody out of the land when they are not supposed to be in that land themselves. They didn't discover nothing.
But
Okay.
the Caribbean is stolen land. You can't go there illegally. They'll put you out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree
All
with
right.
you that you have to respect people's laws. But what I'm saying to you is that these European settlers came in and they didn't respect the indigenous people that were there. They sold, they gave them beads for land. They had their language in their contracts and they knew that they didn't understand their language. And then they persecuted them, they slaughtered them, and then they say, hey, let's celebrate Thanksgiving unto our God because we got this land. But now these are the same people calling other people immigrants. We
No,
know
I
that.
agree with you. The immigrants are also colonists too, though. I agree with you when you say that about the white man, but that same logic applies to the immigrants. They are also encroaching on Native American lands. And I have Native American ancestry. That's why I take a strong stance against immigration.
Do you call ICE on the Europeans
Definitely.
that are okay?
Definitely.
How do you make a distinction?
And I'm glad you asked, literally. If I encounter a person, it depends on how I feel that day. If I see you and you got an accent, I'm calling ICE. If I see you, you don't speak English, I'm calling ICE. If I see you, you congregated around other people that look like illegal aliens, I'm calling ICE. So it's up to my discretion, just like it is up to every U.S. citizen's discretion when you want to call ICE. Let ICE figure out if they're here legally.
So when you say if they have an accent, right? Because I have been around a lot of people from America, and you got New Yorkers that have one accent, and you got Southerners that have another accent. You have people in America that have different accents. So how do you
Yes,
delineate
I'm
the
speaking
accent?
about a foreign accent. If you
Okay,
have a foreign accent, hey, you on the table. Really, literally.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
you
calling
have
ice on you.
you have the right to do that. I don't think that is very helpful to
But
our
can I tell you
laws.
how many? Can I tell you how many illegal aliens I got deported? And you have to understand, every illegal alien that gets deported, that frees up a housing opportunity and job opportunities for descendants of U.S. chattel slaves that are homeless and or unemployed. So it makes a big difference, really.
But do you really think that when you are addressing this situation, like they're immigrants, I'm going to call ICE on them? Do you not think that ICE can eventually be called on you?
Well, I'm a U.S. citizen, so even if you do call ICE on me, literally,
So,
I have
so,
a U.S. birth
so is Rosie
certificate.
O'Donnell. So is Rosie O'Donnell.
And Rosie, and I wanted to address that as well. Rosie O'Donnell has not been stripped of her U.S. citizenship. That was Trump just talking. Now, if it comes a time where descendants of U.S. chattel slaves, first of all, the 14th Amendment was created to grant descendants of U.S. chattel slaves immigration in the U.S. So I don't see that ever being reversed. But if it is, do you understand you'll see a second civil war? We're not going to tolerate it. Really, this is
Yeah,
our
you'll see,
homeland.
you'll see a second civil war for sure. But the problem is that because Black Americans are still in the low percentage of being able to actually defend themselves with no actual army, you have to be able to have a lot of ammo. But the other issue with
Do you
that,
remember the first Civil War, though? We got our way in
no,
the first Civil War.
I hear you there. But the other
We
issue,
fought our way off slave plantations. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you
no,
off.
no, no, it's okay. The other issue with that, what we have to consider, panmulattoism, is that we're not dealing with ammo the way we used to deal with ammo. You're dealing with AI robots now. You're dealing with all kinds of technology that we
Uh
in the
huh.
Black community
That
don't
we have
exist.
access to it. You know how many descendants of U.S. chattel slaves are in the U.S. government and the U.S. military and work for a lot of these AI companies? We have access to that same technology. Don't underestimate the strength of your people. There's a reason why we have not been mass deported before. Don't you think? Don't you know that the white man, if he could have mass deported us, he would have did it hundreds of years ago. He definitely would have did it in the 60s. I mean, let's be for real. You think the white man didn't think of mass deporting us before? The thing is that he cannot. That's a fact. He cannot mass deport us. We're not the Haitians. We're not Mexicans. We're not Venezuelans. We are descendants of U.S. chattel slaves. We stand up and fight for what's ours. We never flee. We never run away.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with you on that. Black Americans fight for what is ours, and I don't say theirs, I say ours because again, I am Black American as well. You and I have disagreements when it comes to how I see my brothers and sisters around the world, but in terms of lineage, my bones trace to Black America through my father, not through my mother. So I'm definitely rooted in America.
Yes,
However,
ma'am.
However, when I think about the reality that America as a nation has never been for us, they've always been hostile, and we are, to me, in my position, prisoners of war. I'm not necessarily trying to fight for the prison cell. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, it's not about that, but don't you understand that with the immigrants here, we are fighting multiple opponents? Don't you realize that? We're not, before in our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, they literally had one enemy to focus on, which was the Caucasian. Now, we got the Arabians, we got the Chinese, we got the Mexicans, we got the Venezuelans, we got the Caribbeans that don't like us, we got the Africans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, no, we got to clear the board and focus on one opponent at a time. Literally. So, I support all of these illegal aliens getting out the paint, mass deporting them. Matter of fact, let me say this to all the descendants of U.S. chattel slaves listening. If you see something suspicious, report them to ICE. Just like these immigrants that call the police on you, call ICE on them. Get them out the paint. Really. If you don't call ICE, you're part of the problem.
Well, I think your position is definitely one in which you have a right to, and I'm not against you being able to express that right. I definitely disagree, not in terms of like the whole thing with the immigrants who disrespect our people being able to just have access to the things that our people have historically worked for. But again, my larger issue, aside from the immigrant situation, is that I feel very much that we are on the precipice of seeing our people who have their bones buried in America being next on the docket. Like somebody said, when you're playing pool, you always say the black ball for last. And so that's my position, is that while you're calling ICE, somebody going to be calling ICE on you
But
because
how can you say we last when we was first on a chopping block? How can you say we going to be
what I'm
last?
saying is that the goal is from this administration, from what I can see, the goal of this administration is to make America white again, not make America great again. They are trying to do everything that they can to criminalize our people. And if we're too comfortable and we're too secure in America and looking at America as though it's a protector of Black bodies, then we're not really looking at the historicity of America. America has always moved the goalpost when it comes to Black bodies. And so now all of a sudden we say, oh, they're not going to move the goalpost because I've got a driver's license and I got a birth certificate in Texas. Like, no, they've always moved the goalpost. They use us as guinea pigs. They treat us terribly.
They don't care about us, but yet somehow I'm supposed to fight for the land that supposedly cares about me and is going to prosper me, when we know economically we're 2.6% of the nation's wealth. So how and why would I fight for a nation that does not want to award me for my hard work, instead of going to the continent and building up a nation that would reward me for my hard work, and I wouldn't be struggling and trying to prove my blackness on a
No,
nation full of black people?
but I think you misunderstand me, Ashanda. I'm saying fight for your communities, fight for your territory right here in the U.S. Additionally, and you did not address this point, and I don't want to speed past it. Don't you realize that these same immigrants that the white man actually allowed into the U.S., let's not forget that the white man allowed them into the U.S., the majority of them voted for Trump, the same man that you claim
Oh, for
is
sure, for
all
sure.
right. So
And they,
so
oh,
you have to
absolutely.
acknowledge they are problematic, and it's best that they get out the paint, that they get out of the country.
Man, listen, those particularly who are white leaning, right? Like they want to have the closest proximity. I understand your position, but I guess I'm not talking about them immigrants. I'm talking about the ones that come from our blood. I'm talking about those who are phenotypically us, those who are by bloodline us. I don't see them as the same folk. And I
Hold on,
guess
but
that's the
Ashanda,
thing is you're
when you
like
say blood,
looking, yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying you're looking at immigrants and you're just boxing them all into one circle and not delineating between the European immigrants and those who are of our descent. To me, I don't think that's right. I feel like we are supposed to be able to learn how to love one another and to forgive each other and advocate for one another. I'm not going to advocate for those people who want to be white proximity, but I'm talking about if my Jamaican brother or my Trinidadian sister has never harmed me, but I'm going to be calling ICE on them. I don't think that's right.
No, but Shonda, and that's once again, that's why I like to reduce my comments to less than 1 sentence. I mean, pardon me, to less than 60 seconds, because I want you to understand what I'm saying. Literally, what I'm saying is these same immigrants, first of all, the African ones, are the descendants of the slave traders that sold your ancestors to the white man in the first place. They have no commonality with us. They have no unity with us. In fact, they have an equal amount of commonality with us that they have, pardon me, I would say that they have more of a commonality and camaraderie with the white man. That is their co-conspirator, literally. And as far as the Jamaicans and Caribbeans, etc., you already admitted, if you go to their country illegally, you'll be subjected to deportation. So if they come to the U.S. illegally, they got to go, literally. Don't you realize that as the total number of immigrants increases in the U.S., the total number of majority black American communities, cities, towns, counties, and municipalities and congressional districts is decreasing? So if it's them or us, I'm going to always choose us every time. And that goes for any ethnic group. If it's us versus the white man, I'm choosing us every time. If it's us versus Caribbeans, I'm choosing us every time. If it's us versus Asian, Africans, Arabians, I'm choosing us every time. And that's how FBA and ADOS is feeling right now. We on our own time. We're not looking for no camaraderie. It has never benefited us.
Well, I definitely appreciate your perspective. And again, this is why this discussion is taking place right now, because we need to be able to dialogue and have honest discourse about how we each feel. So I don't want you to walk away feeling like, you're being bullied or jumped on for your position, because like I said,
No,
I
never.
understand. I understand the frustration. I grew up in America. I understand the frustration. I just separate and segment the European colonizers. And not all Europeans have colonialist ways, but they're not of my blood. So I separate them from those who are of my blood. And I say, you know what? We can sit down and we can talk about this, because we're all under the system of colonialism, just in different lands. So let's sit down and discuss. I want to give somebody else a chance to jump in,
Well,
because
one last thing. I'm sorry. Please, one last thing, and then I'll
Absolutely,
drop down.
absolutely,
But
sister. Yeah,
sis,
brother.
one last thing. Sis, the white man is
You're
all.
hogging the floor, brother.
I'm going to
You're
pass the mic
hogging
to
the
you after I
floor.
say this.
Other
All right, brother.
people have
Mute up.
opinions and thoughts.
All right, let me say one
You've
sentence.
been
I'll pass the
talking
mic.
like
Brother,
this is
let's
a
not argue.
dialogue between you and the sister.
I'm
Give the
going
other
to say
people
one
some
comment.
chance to speak.
I'm going to pass the
Give
mic
the
to you
other
after this. One
people.
sentence. Brother,
Wait,
one
no,
sentence.
no, no,
Have
no.
some
There is
decorum.
no. Wait. You've been
Brother,
talking too
Ashonda, don't you realize
long.
that the white man shares your blood too? You have to
You've been
acknowledge that,
talking too
Ashonda. The white
long.
man has
It's
your
time for
blood
you
too.
to be quiet and allow others to speak.
Brother, do you want attention from
You're
her?
not the only
She's
one that
married.
has an opinion.
All
So
right,
be
okay,
so
quiet,
sis.
young
okay,
man.
guys. All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Be
much.
quiet.
Thank y'all both so much.
Yeah, please, let's keep it respectful. And I'm gonna drop down. Please, let me just say this before I drop down. Ashonda, the white man shares blood with you too. That don't make him your family. Look at the Africans the same way. Peace,
I
sis. Thanks for having me up.
I understand that. Thank you so much for coming on, Brother Don P. Thank you very much for coming in and saying what you said, because we do need to allow everybody on the platform to get an opportunity to speak. And I'm actually glad that he came on, because we need to be able to understand that there are people among our community who feel very much like him. This is not, you know what I'm saying? This is not a one-off. This is a serious issue among us in the community. So with that in mind, I want anybody can feel free to jump into this double dutch and share your perspective, especially on some of the things that he said about calling ICE on those of Caribbean descent. Like I said, I'm Nigeria Igbo stock. So even continental, most of us are Igbo, Limba, Ashanti, Yoruba. A lot of us have that in our DNA through our father's line, not just through our mothers, but through our father's line. And so we are one people, in my opinion. But y'all go ahead and jump in. Let me know what you think.
I want to speak. I want to speak as a descendant of the people that built this country. See, I don't agree with this. I understand why these folks want to delineate, and it's only it's about a financial thing. That's what that's really about, is a financial thing with these these FBAs. I don't feel that way. One, because I know who I am. I'm of the Bissa people that now are, in the geographic area of Burkina Faso. But my ancestry also built this place. Now, my question, see, because I approach life through that word. And so for these FBAs, a lot of them want to claim that they are native to this land. Well, the things I know about the people that are native to this land would definitely not make them of the house of Yasharel. But my thing is this: if you don't have that lineage, where are you going when Babylon gets destroyed? Because Babylon will be destroyed. So where are you going?
Right.
FBA? You gonna stay here right here with these missiles? But of course, you don't believe that. You don't believe, but you do believe that your people sold us into this here. You know what? By my reading, I'm sorry, and understanding what's going on geographically in the world right now, who's being used as tools, history has a way of repeating itself. And I'm starting to look at these people that are not our people. Yasharel, they control the slave trade. Hello. And those people consider themselves white. I'll land right.
Thank you, Don P. Anybody can jump in.
Yeah, I would like to jump in. This is Sister Sarah. Yeah, I appreciate what Don P said. Definitely, the brother Pam Mulatto was wrong that Africans, and it's kind of like he used a broad brush to paint all Africans, that they are not your people. He's absolutely wrong. We are your people. I am African, and I am your people. You are my people. We all know the history. Well, some of us know the history. Although most don't know it in detail, most don't know the complexities of it. We have to come to a point where
Hello?
we educate. Yes, can you hear me?
Onika, we're going to call on you in a little bit. I'm
Uh-oh.
going to mute your mic, okay?
Yeah. Thank you. So we have to come to a point where we acknowledge that this has gone on. And like I said before, the transatlantic slave trade was not the first time. This has been going on. We have to realize that unity is where it's at, and unity through Yah, because without Yah, we can unite all day long, and it's never gonna work. Okay, like Marcus Garvey tried it. Well, he tried it, in his religious way. But Kwame Nkrumah tried it. So many others tried it, but it doesn't work if we don't have Yah at the center of it. So we have to realize that we have to unite, because as long as we continue to be divided, they will continue to do to us what they continue to do. They will continue to slap us around. slap our leaders around, turn our leaders into cowards where they cannot even speak up, they cannot even stand up and do what they are supposed to be doing because they're afraid for their lives and the lives of their families because they've seen the history. They've seen what they've done to Garvey. They've seen what they've done to King. They've seen what they've done to Malcolm X. They've seen what they've done to Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and they see what's going on in Burkina with our brother in the Sahel, with Ibrahim Traore. So we have to realize that we have to wake up. We need to come together. We have to shave off all this fluff, all this unnecessary stuff, which is, this people enslaved me, that people enslaved me, or these people colonized me. We have to stop it. And we really have to hold each other's hands. That's the only way we can do it. Right now, like the other guy was saying that the whites are coming and outpricing us in the land. It's true. It's going on right now. In Ghana, there was a development. There was a real estate development that was put up by a Chinese guy. The Chinese guy refuses to rent to the locals. They have gone and they are purchasing prime land, while we ourselves, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, are wondering, are we the same people? Are we not the same people? Our brothers and sisters in the continent are sitting around, you know, doing hand to mouth because they are also put in that situation where they can never advance. So we have to realize we have to stop this division and we do need to reconcile. I want to personally apologize. I'm not apologizing to everybody else. I don't know of my family's slave trade history. We don't have a history of that. We actually have a history of being enslaved. But if there's anyone in my bloodline that has participated in any way, I want to apologize to you, my brothers and sisters. Please forgive me and forgive my ancestors. Forgive your ancestors. Because even some of the ones who were brought in were also brought in due to fighting wars that they were not supposed to be fighting and trying to enslave other people too. So we have to put down our spears and we have to hug each other. Please, it's about time, and I yield. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, sis. I think you and Don P made some really important points. And again, it's easy to write each other off. I didn't want to come and have this panel discussion, without sharing both perspectives. I'm in a unique position, right? So I can understand where both sides are coming from. And I think what you did there, where you said, I don't know if my family line, um, going back into my ancestors, participated in the trade and the slave trade. We also were sold into slavery, because I noticed you said that some of the Americas that were sold in your family, but I apologize on behalf. And the thing is that I think that's where we're going to have to get. We're going to have to get to that place where we learn how to apologize to one another and we learn how to forgive one another. Because, one thing I say about the colonizers is that whenever our blood is spilled in the streets, they told us that we have to turn the other cheek and we have to forgive. And that was ingrained inside of so many of us for such a long time that it became like clockwork. And many of us, and including in the FBA community, are making an intentional decision to not allow injustice to continue to happen by saying, I forgive every time injustice happens. But the reality is that if we have those among us, our own people, that say, I apologize, I'm sorry, I don't know, why this has happened so much to where we have such anger towards one another to this day, but I don't want to be a part of that anger. I want to be a part of the solution. We need to be quicker to forgive our own than we are to forgive those who continue to subjugate us. I'm going to give Onika an opportunity to speak. I think that she came in on the panel a little bit late. Onika, go ahead and say your piece and where you're from. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Why this has happened so much to where we have such anger towards one another to this day, but I don't want to be a part of that anger. I want to be a part of the solution. We need to be quicker to forgive our own. I think that sounds like me. Continue to subjugate us. I'm going to give Onika an opportunity to speak. I think a little bit late. Onika, go ahead and say.
Shalom.
Shalom. Onika, do me a favor.
I'm not real good with this, so forgive me.
That's okay. Do me a favor and cut the volume down from your
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but you got to cut the volume down on your device.
Hello? Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
We can hear you.
She can't hear us. It's a delay on her end. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her on mute until till she gets the
I can't hear anything okay, there it goes. All right. Shalom, everyone. I'm not good with this technology. I just want to say I love all my people around the world, the diaspora, etc. But I think where we are right now is in America, Black America, if you will. I don't call myself that. I'm an Israelite. I think that we are at our peak of disrespect from others, and we've opened our arms from the civil rights movement to open the door for everyone. We have fought for everybody. We're exhausted. We are exhausted Black Americans. We really are, from slavery on to this day. We're just tired, and people need to understand we've fought for everyone. And the awakening really started here in the U.S. This whole awakening started with us because we had it the hardest. We were in it the deepest. It's been treacherous. And I just hope and pray people understand that we just can't take it anymore. It's frustrating. So I don't know. It just feels like people don't understand there's been since 400 years, almost 500 years ago, we've been dealing with this, all of it. And we're just tired. And that's the energy I'm getting. And that's why we've delineated, like, we just need to work on ourselves and take care of us. And it may sound selfish, but it's the way it feels. So forgive me and my Black or FBA family here in America. We just have had it. That's my 2 cents. That's
Monica,
all.
thank you so much for sharing your heart. And if we're not going to be honest when we come to the table, what is the point of us, even being here? What's the point of us? Are we here for entertainment purposes, or are we here because we understand that Yahuwah is waking up the dry bones of Ezekiel's vision, and he is bringing back us together? But there's a lot of offense that has taken place between us, and he said that he's going to deal with that offense. I think it's Ephraim would not be jealous of Judah anymore. I'm going to pull that scripture up real quick, because we need to understand that there's real anger, there's real frustration, there's real exhaustion with Judah mainly being disrespected by those who feel like what happened to the children of Israel in America, that they're just belly aching about. I've heard people talk like that. Oh, y'all just crying about, acting like, what you went through it, like we didn't all go through it. That's not right. It's not right. And that's why there's an exhaustion with it. So it says here in Isaiah 11, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Okay? So there's a vexing and a jealousy and a frustration that's taking place between Judah and Ephraim, the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom. That's why we're having this discussion, because it's real. It's real, and it is something that if we're not willing to come to the table and say, you know what? I honor what you're saying. I honor your frustration. I know that there's been march after march after march. There's been sitting down at the counter. There's been getting sprayed with water hoses, dogs sicked on you, lynching. There's been all of these things that have happened, mainly to you. And you keep going. You keep going and you keep thriving. You are creating so much for the culture all over the world, and yet you don't have any of the dollars. Your culture often also is manipulated by bad actors from Japheth who own the media. And then that's what we get to see when we're in our nations. We get to see all of the worst of you. Does not even actually represent the whole of you. It doesn't represent the whole of you, but that's what we get to see. And so we have to be willing to come to the table and say, you know what? We got to stop this back and forth denial of real pain that has happened because of rejection of each other. Anybody want to add to that? Oh, everybody's quiet now. What happened? Anybody? Okay. So nobody wants to add to that part, but it's real. It's real. And if we want to see us come together for real, then we're going to have to acknowledge that. We're going to have to acknowledge that there's real hurt and there's real pain on the other side.
Well, we are supposed to be imitating our Messiah, our Hamashiach. He didn't do anything to anybody, but yet and still, he gave his life so that all could come back, can be so that we can be regathered to Yahuwah, reconciled to
Can I
Yahuwah.
say something?
Hold on, I'm talking. Can you let me finish my thought? Um, so if it said that
And
he
if we
was,
want to see us come together for real,
oh, somebody's unmuted. So
go ahead. Go ahead, sis.
if we want to, we need to be the Isaiah 53 where it says, like a sheep to the slaughter, he was led away. If anybody has any marks against what happened, Yahusha was sinless. He did nothing wrong. And so before we can even have an offense, because the spirit of offense is of Hasatan, and that's the problem. We're also offended, but we're not taking any accountability of what we've done. We have to be humble and meek. We have to be long suffering, because were it not for Yahusha coming and were it not for Yahuwah being long suffering, none of us would be here. And we have to understand that we have to be long suffering with one another. We do have to forgive. We do have to do that in order to come together. Yes, there was hurt on both sides, but we hurt Yahuwah first.
Amen. Amen. And I'll be the first one to say, even though, I I identify as Israel first. You know what I'm saying? I identify as the daughter of the Most High, daughter of Zion. But when we come into these micro cultures, I'll say that when it comes to the islands, I want to say that on behalf of those who are in the Caribbean, and this is not all Caribbean people that act this way for sure, but those who have been hostile, negative, those who have benefited from Black America without giving proper respect, collaboration, unity, understanding. I want to apologize on behalf of the Caribbean and say that that's not right. It's not right. We have to understand that so much of what we have access to today is because of what Black America and the ancestors of those who were in chattel slavery in America went through. At the same token, I want to say that Black Americans who come to the Caribbean have
respect for the microculture that is the Caribbean. It's on both sides. You can't come to another part of the world and feel like you're going to, disrespect and disregard, which we have seen happen in the Caribbean, and we've also seen happen on the continent where Black American sisters will come over and they'll be twerking on, you know, different historical sites. That's disrespectful. We have to stop disrespecting one another. I apologize on behalf of the disrespect that we've shown, and anybody from Black America exclusively, not like me that's in between, that would like to apologize. If you feel led, then feel free to do it. But we got to come to some point where we take accountability for our own actions. As the sister said, Layla, lay y'all. And that's me taking accountability and saying, I apologize and I want to see us reconcile. Sister Onika, go ahead if you want, or somebody else can jump in. And then we're going to get ready to wrap this up with final comments. Okay, Sister Onika can't hear because of the whatever's going on with her device. But we'll go ahead and we'll jump into final comments now. And then, like I said, y'all can join us for prayer. Those of you who took part in the panel discussion, you're more than welcome to come back tonight for prayer. Anybody who wants to jump in and pray tonight, it's going to be an open prayer. I think we need it. 714 for the 714 movement, 5-year anniversary. So with that in mind, I'm going to give Sister Saram the mic real quick so she can say final comments.
I want to apologize.
Oh, we can't hear you, sis. I think she was going to say something. She said she wanted to apologize.
Yeah, she's lagging like crazy. So
Should we wait for her or should I go ahead?
uh let's hold on, let me see what she does now. Okay, let's see what she does. Sister Onika? Okay. Yeah, she's off now. You go ahead, Sister Sarah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want to thank Sister Ashanda for having this room today. And I want to thank Yah because Yah is always doing stuff to bring us back together, to bring us back to Him. And this is one of those things. Very rarely do we see platforms dedicated to reconciliation and helping our brothers and sisters, ourselves, our brothers and sisters, wherever we may be, to open our eyes and realize that yes, we're brothers and sisters. We are the children of Jacob. You would say Jacob, I would say Yasara. And we are the children of the Most High. And we have a greater calling. Right now, it seems like we're at a standstill because we have forgotten our our main position. And so, like I said before, we have to come back to Yah. We have to forgive each other. Our brothers and sisters in Africa, most of them are not, most of those who are Israelites are not awakened. And of course, there are non-Israelites among us as well. But even there are also Shemitic people who are non-Israelites who are among us. But the Israelites, most of them, especially the youth, they are not awakened. And their main focus is what am I going to eat tomorrow? Because that is how it's been set up. They are not allowed to progress beyond that. That's why you see the conflict. Our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, in the Americas, on a different level, you also experience the oppression. We see it every day. We see it on the TV, whether it's right in your face, unaliving brothers and sisters, or the systemic racism that goes on and oppression that goes on. But we have to realize that it is not the Africans who come here that are your enemy. No. And it is not African Americans who go to Africa that are the enemies of the African Israelites either. So, like I said, we need to unite, but we need to do it right this time, which is with Yah, which is why I truly appreciate Sister Ashanda and others who do similar things. But so far, there are not very many uh, for hosting this kind of platform, for awakening us, doing the work, which I know with all the children that she has, all the responsibilities as a mother, I don't know how you do it. But kudos to you, and may Yah bless you and continue the work of awakening. We cannot just sit on this information. We have to continue to open our brothers and sisters' eyes. Whenever we're in circles where people are speaking ill about the other, we need to stand in the gap and we need to say, no, actually, it's not like so. I do this for brothers and sisters who are African, who have a different perspective, who have an indoctrinated perspective about African Americans. I do this all the time. And we just have to help each other unlearn the evils that have been taught to us, you see. So, and I will land here and I'll say blessings to everyone, and may everyone grow in faith and in Yah. Shalom.
Shalom, sis. Thank you so much for your kind and eloquent words. Can you do us a favor and let us know where we can follow you? Because I definitely love to check out some more of your content.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so I have a YouTube channel that is called Hebrew Ivri Ewe Ewe the Black Man. But in short, you can just type at Hebrew the Black Man and you'll find my channel. And my name is Seiram Ajanku. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, but my videos are mostly on YouTube. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you could do us a favor and put the link in the comment section so people can just find it directly from there, that would be awesome. Thank you again for your insightful words. It's a huge discussion, but I'm glad that y'all have come to the table and are brave enough to have it. You know, I think it's a very important discussion for us to have because we're living in unprecedented times. And we just have to ask ourselves this day whom we will serve. Are we going to serve, our own interest? Are we going to serve the Most High Yahuwah? And I've already made my choice. So praise Yah for the strength that He gives us to continue to keep going in spite of all our responsibilities. I'm going to turn the floor over to Endor for your final comments.
Yes, I just want to say thank you again, Ashonda. As the sister just said, I am grateful for your platform. Like I said, it hasn't been very long since I have come out of your traditional, I guess, Christian church. And I think that if we can unite and we can continue to support platforms like yours, and have the resources and a community that people can come to as they're coming out, I think it's going to help because there are very few people that I have in my circle that I can have this conversation with. And I think that's a part of the challenge of people waking up because there's not a lot of people around them that have the knowledge or have the community as we have that are part of who Israel, the true Israel people are, to be able to do that without some of the, I guess you can say, some of the reputations that come along with it. Because a lot of times I find myself explaining what it means to be Israel and all of that. So I'm just grateful for this platform and thank you.
Thank you as well. And yeah, shout out to all of you who support the work. There's been a lot of people, to be honest with y'all, who have fallen off of support. And I understand it's hard times. But to be honest with y'all, I do get discouraged because there's so much I want to do. There's just so much. I had somebody ask me the other day when I was going to come out with a French version of Israelite. And I was like, yeah, that's actually been on our mind because, we know a lot of our brothers and sisters that speak French and Creole, and we want to get that work into their hands as well as those who speak Spanish. But that takes money, that takes funding. And I just want y'all to know that those of you who continue to support, I appreciate y'all supporting. Those of you who can support, I appreciate you supporting because there's so much stuff that can get done. The goals that we have here in just in the local, in the Caribbean local, We have huge goals of what we'd like to be able to see happen for the awakening in the Caribbean. But again, that takes funding. So I don't want to shame anybody or make anybody feel funny, because I understand that we are dealing with a very fickle economy. But if Yahuwah lays it on your heart to support the work, please do, because he's given me expansion, but without the actual physical dollars to be able to support the expansion, it makes it that much more difficult. But thank y'all for those of you who continue to support, and those of you who are led to support. Thank you very much. I want to hand the floor over to Leal Yahu, melanated by Yahuwah.
I want to also thank you for hosting this platform and hosting this conversation, because many more need to be had. And yes, we do. The other people that come over from different parts of the world, immigrants, period, they look down on us, and without us, they would not be able to come over here and do a lot of the things that they do if it wasn't for the struggles of chattel slavery and our people through Jim Crow. And even now, today, we're still experiencing stuff. We're the only nation that has nothing, and they make us have nothing and own it, and then point the fingers at us like we did it, when we know the things that they done, like they burning down Black Wall Street. Every time they said, get it, strap your bootstraps up and get it, and we did it, they would come and burn it, because they didn't want that narrative to be that. They wanted to say that we were lazy, and us doing it and building did not fit that narrative. I want everybody to be encouraged, because Yahuwah says in Zechariah 12:7, Yahuwah also shall save the tents of Yehuda first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Yehuda. So we are going to be the ones that go first, and we are the ones that set the example. With that being said, we need to act like that and be that example, because like she said, there's many people on the continent that don't know who they are, and there's still many people here that don't know who they are. And I thank the Most High Yahuwah for awakening these dry bones, because for so long we was trying to infiltrate other people's culture, and be everything that we were not. So I hope this is not the last discussion that we will have, and I look forward to many, many more, so that we can heal and come together as the two sticks become one. Thank you for having me.
Hallelujah. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights as well. Yeah, all praises to the Most High. He's allowed us to come to the table and have these discussions, so that the elephant, under the carpet can finally get pulled out and we can deal with them. So thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Layal Yahuwah, melanated by Yahuwah. Brother Don P., I know
My
you got
sister.
some wisdom for us.
First of all, I want to say thank you and big ups for the courage to be obedient to the things that the Most High calls you to do. And I, by way of that, am blessed because of it. From the book you wrote to these discussions, these difficult conversations that need to be had. And folks got to understand how we got into this. The way that we got into this is pretty much the only way we're going to get out. And it has nothing to do with this world. We are instructed to be in the world, but not of the world. And this bickering back and forth about this created situation called race, that's of the world. I want to be found acceptable in the Savior's sight. And he said that by this sign, all men will know that you are my Talmudim. And so that is what we have to put on. because that is the sign, and also that is the part of the righteousness of Yahushua. And he said, without righteousness, no man is going to see him. And see, that is the one balm that will take care of all of the issues we have, because it says that one thing covers a multitude of wrongs. And the thing is, where we're going, and I try to look at my life through those scriptures. I don't care what's going on, except for the fact that what's going on are signs for us to understand where we are on this continuum. And the time is getting closer, and all of this stuff is going to become irrelevant. This bickering about race and place is going to be irrelevant, and we're going to need each other, especially the house of Yasharel. So we really need to look at ways to come together, as opposed to us being torn apart. And I think, like the sister said, on the continent, well, we got the same problem here. And I keep telling people, there aren't as many of us as you think. So we got to be about the Father's business, and sharing that bazaar out there and letting our people know, hey, time's running short. And I'll end there.
Well, you definitely said how I know I feel. When you travel, you see that many of us have the same issues. And that's why when y'all hear me use the term microculture a lot, that's why I use it. Because we are one people, but we've had to make the best and make do of our situation where we've been dispersed. And there's parts of us that are holding on to that ancient memory of who we were on a grand scale. And that's what we hold on to because that's all we have. But that's not it. Like, we have so much more in store for us as a restored people, one nation under Yah. They stole that from us, right? They're not one nation under the Most High. We know that from their actions. But we are one people under the Most High, because even in the dispersal, many of us are still faith-filled people. It's in our DNA, and everybody knows it. And he's going to restore all of us. He said in his word that he will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. And for me, that's what I am longing for. That's what I'm working towards. When I see Yahuwah moving mightily on the earth, I want to be a part of that plan. And I think that all of us who say that we know who we are should want to be a part of that plan. Our microcultures are important. Let me tell you something. I big up my Caribbean people. I love my Caribbean people. I love Caribbean food. I love the culture that we bring. It's a different flavor. But at the same time, man, I love me going to a good cookout in the States. And I love standing with my brothers and sisters who are standing against the brutality that's happened to us and saying reparations now. I'm looking forward to getting to the continent. Y'all willing, I'll be there in 2027. But all I'm saying is that we are one people dropped off at different ports, and we've got to come together so that we can really see the Most High just turn these nations away from us like he said he would. He said that the world would know that he is who he said he is, meaning Yahusha, by the way we love one another. That's the goal. We got to love one another for them to know he is who he says he is. So we're going to do that. That's the big question. Don P, thank you so much. I'm going to put you in the back. I got one last video that I want to share. I want to share this video to close out. And then I ask y'all to join us again for prayer tonight. I pray that your hearts are like pierced, wherever part of the world you come from, that your heart is pierced enough that tonight when we come to pray, you're prepared for prayer. because anytime is a good time to pray. But on this 5th anniversary of the 714 movement, I pray that this will be the collaborative, unified effort for us to be healed. Yahuwah can do it. So I'm going to play this video. Thank you. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Sister Desiree for your support. Anything helps. Thank you. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you. And I'm going to play this video and then I'm going to close out, and then Yahuwah willing, I will be seeing y'all tonight. But this young lady shares so much of my sentiment. So much of my sentiment. And it's not to be dismissive, but I pray that you hear the video out fully, and then I'll see y'all tonight. As always, family, love yourselves without hating your enemies, all right? Take a look at this video. Y'all bless and salam.
Peace, family. It's your girl TT from TT Talks. If I'm talking too fast, please forgive me. I want to convey a lot of information on a very, very, very nuanced topic, okay? I'm an African American. I've been able to trace my ancestry by hand and also through DNA. One line definitely comes from what is now Sierra Leone, the Mende people. Another line is from the Yoruba people of Nigeria. I consider myself to be a Pan-African, okay? That means that if you are a descendant of an African person throughout the diaspora, you feel a connection, a kinship, and feel as if you have a shared destiny. I want to talk a little bit about why I'm really not interested in participating in any of the diaspora wars. In my opinion, I think the whole shit is anti-Black, just off rip. Let me say that I have been to Africa several times. I've been to Nigeria, Ghana, I've been to Uganda, I've been to Rwanda, and plan to go to many, many more places in Africa. I'd probably say the vast majority of the times that I went, I didn't really stay in hotels. I was staying in family homes. So I have a more intimate experience. That's one of the reasons why I don't really get involved with all of the diaspora war stuff. We have been inundated with propaganda on both sides. Both sides. I've seen and heard not so savory things on both sides. I remember in high school, there was a young man who came to the U.S. from a country in West Africa. I can't remember. I think it was either Sierra Leone or Liberia. I can't remember. But I just remember having to stand up for him all the time because he was relentlessly bullied. I've also heard some very crazy and ignorant things on the continent. I was talking to a woman she may have been from Mali, if I'm not mistaken. But she was like, "You're such a beautiful, intelligent, sweet, kind woman. Why aren't you married?" And I was just like, well, I haven't really met someone who I wanted to marry yet. I was like, I don't have anything bad to say, not much, but I just haven't. And she was just like, if you get married, don't marry an African American man, because all they do is go to jail and they don't take care of their children. Okay? I just sat and listened. Because remember, I'm in her home. And I said, well, my daddy's never been to jail, and he took great care of my sister and I. I know a whole lot more men who did not go to jail or prison and who are taking care of their children. I said, sure, there's a population that don't. But I also remember having a conversation with some young teenagers in Nigeria. And they were asking, why are Black people in America so angry at white people? Instead of me being reactive about it, we went on YouTube. We pulled up stuff about civil rights movement, Reconstruction era, Jim Crow, Black codes, redlining, all kinds of stuff like that. And after an hour of looking at all that stuff, they were like, whoa. In turn, they gave me a lot of nuanced information about things like the Biafra War. We talked about Olumo Rock in Abeokuta, which was a safe haven for people who were fleeing European slave traders. And so they fled up into the mountains and the rocks, and they were able to preserve their people. So it was a beautiful exchange of information. And in that, they had a better understanding that when they come to the United States and experience a lot of freedoms and a lot of luxuries and things like that, they understood that it was paid for on the back of Black people who were in America. And it's so hard to kind of get a good discussion going about it because people throw out, well, they're the ones who sold us into slavery. And when people throw that out, that's how I know you don't really have the range for this conversation, because it's a little bit more nuanced than that. We've kind of sold each other out on multiple sides of the water. There were people from our African American Black community who were informants for the CIA and the FBI, correct, who also would tell about people who were running away or any type of insurrections that we were planning. We were snitching and selling each other out. So that's just not something that's specific to continental Africans. But my point is, just know all over the world there are Black people who want to unify with each other. And so my thing is, focus on that. And if you're not one of those people, good for you. Do your thing. Just don't try to impede anything that we have going on and that we are trying to establish. So I want to show you a video clip of an interview I did, an unexpected interview. I was just hanging out. I was on a rooftop in Ghana at a lounge, enjoying music, drinking drinks, hanging out. And I sat at a table with a bunch of men from Africa, and they were from all over. There was some from Mali. There was some from Ghana, some from Nigeria. I think that there was somebody there from Senegal, and there was just a lot of Congo. There was a lot of men there. And I sat at the table and we just struck up conversation. And I kind of paired off into a conversation with a young man from Mali. I was in Ghana, but he was from Mali, a young Fulani man. His name was Ali. And we literally talked for 3 hours. I have like 3 hours of audio from him. But I actually, while my battery was still working on my camera, still had a little bit of time to have a conversation with him about how young Africans feel about African Americans. And this is what Ali had to say.
I think we're just the same people. We're all Black people, and I want you to come out here like her, like she came out here to see where y'all came from and like talk to us and tell us about America. Let's get together, share our knowledge, and make Black people be successful. We see y'all people, Black people in America, as game bangers, drug dealers, rappers and all that, man. We can change all that. If we come together, we can show that Black people are better than all that. If we come together. So I want Black people in America to show a different view of themselves living in America to us Africans. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but because my English is not like yours, but I want you to understand that I want you to change your lifestyle a little bit. Like, I don't want me to see you people as game bangers or that. I want you to see people as successful people, the people I look up to, they live and act with them. So we can take over the resource and we can, as Black people, benefit from it. Africa's big. Y'all can all come out here. Y'all can get gold, diamonds, I swear. Let's just get together. I love y'all. I love Black Americans. I love Black people. I'm proud of being Black. You know what I'm saying? So I want Black Americans to come to Africa, and I want everybody to get together. Let's just be brothers, man. You know what I'm saying? When Black people get together, the police gonna be scared. Everybody, the whole I'm not talking about America. The whole world gonna be scared. Africa got everything. With the vessel, we got, man, everything gonna finish in the world, but Africa resource will never finish. We just got everything. You know what I'm saying? That's why white people fear us. They don't want us to know things. Because once we start knowing things, we're going to take over the world. You know what I'm saying? So let's get together and take over the world. That's what I want to do. Wakanda forever.